I'm Lieutenant Colonel Amanda Rains, 41. I started out as a small-town kid who worked twice as hard to earn my wings in Air Force Special Operations. For years, I devoted everything I had to the mission and later to helping the operators who came home broken and couldn't talk about why. But when my new Pentagon boss laughed at my assignment and called it a charity job, then pried open a classified file labeled Operation Phoenix, I made a choice that changed everything. Have you ever been dismissed, humiliated, or underestimated by someone who had no idea what you've survived? If so, tell me your story in the comments. You're not alone. Before I get into what happened, let me know where you're tuning in from. And if you've ever had to stand your ground after being disrespected, tap that like button and subscribe for more true stories about quiet strength, boundaries, and taking back your power. What came next might surprise you. I arrive at the Pentagon on a Tuesday morning in late September, the kind of day where the air feels scrubbed clean and the marble floors gleam under fluorescent light. My new office is on the third floor, earring, which sounds impressive until you realize it's tucked between a storage closet and a conference room that smells like burnt coffee. The door placard reads, Lieutenant Colonel Amanda Rains, Liaison for Veteran Rehabilitation Programs. It sounds exactly like what it is, a cover. My real work, the classified part, doesn't get a placard. Mr. Clay Beckett is waiting for me when I walk in. He's mid-40s, a civilian contractor with a retired colonel's posture and a handshake that lingers too long. His smile is professional, but his eyes do the math: ribbons, rank, age, gender. I can see him drawing conclusions. Colonel Rains. Welcome aboard. He gestures to the small office. Not much, but it's yours. PTSD case manager, right? Sounds cushy for someone with all those ribbons. I set my briefcase down. It keeps me busy. I bet. He leans against the doorframe. We don't get a lot of combat officers rotating through here. Usually it's admin types, logistics. You must have requested this. Something like that. He doesn't push, but I can tell he wants to. Instead, he walks me through the building protocols, badge access, clearance levels, who reports to whom. The Pentagon is a city unto itself, and everyone here speaks in acronyms and unspoken hierarchies. Your badge color matters. Your clearance level matters more. And the things people don't say, those matter most of all. Beckett's office is 2 doors down, larger than mine, with a window that overlooks the parking lot. He's a department head now, manages a team of analysts and program coordinators. He tells me this twice. I nod and take notes. When he mentions my predecessor, a major who transferred to Fort Bragg, his tone shifts. She was great, don't get me wrong. But she didn't have your kind of experience. He taps my file on his desk. Air Force Special Operations. That's serious. It was. I'm here now. He laughs, but it's the kind of laugh that fills silence rather than expressing amusement. Right. Well, you'll find this work is a little different. Less adrenaline, more paperwork. But important. These veterans need advocates. I don't correct him. The veterans I work with aren't the ones he thinks they are. They're not filing claims or attending group therapy. They're the ones who can't talk about what they did, who rotate through programs with code names and security clearances that expire before their trauma does. My job is to keep them functional, keep them quiet, and keep them alive. But Beckett doesn't need to know that. Over the next few days, I settle into a rhythm. Morning briefings, case reviews, coordination calls with field offices I can't name. I meet Dr. Leah Vaughn, the Pentagon psychologist who works 2 floors up. She's sharp, early 30s, with the kind of calm that comes from hearing terrible things and staying steady. We have coffee in the courtyard, and she asks careful questions, nothing classified, nothing direct. Just enough to let me know she understands. People don't get assigned here by accident, she says. No, they don't. Beckett thinks you're doing charity work. I know. She stirs her coffee. He's going to underestimate you. They all do. I'm counting on it. Beckett's comments continue. Little jabs, delivered with a smile. During a staff meeting, he introduces me to a group of civilian analysts as our new PTSD specialist, straight from the field, so go easy on her. The room chuckles politely. I keep my expression neutral. Another time, He jokes about my mystery clearance when my badge triggers a secondary check at a restricted door. Guess she's got secrets, he says to a passing major. The major doesn't laugh. I've learned over the years that power in places like this isn't about volume. It's about access. It's about what you know and who knows you know it. My personnel file is flagged in 6 different systems, each one requiring progressively higher clearance to view. Most people in this building will never see past the first page. Beckett has a mid-level clearance, enough to access contractor budgets and some operational summaries. Enough to be dangerous if he's curious. He's curious. I notice it in the way he watches me during briefings, the way he asks about my previous assignments. I give him nothing. When he mentions Operation Phoenix casually over lunch, I heard that's still active. Is that true? I change the subject. He frowns but doesn't push. Not yet. The Pentagon has a rhythm, a hum that you feel more than hear. Footsteps in marble corridors, the low murmur of secure phone calls behind closed doors, the soft beep of badge readers at checkpoints. Everyone here is carrying something: information, responsibility, secrets. You learn to read people by how they carry it. Beckett carries his authority like a shield, constantly reminding people he used to be a colonel, that he has access, that he matters. It makes him loud in a place that rewards silence. I carry mine differently. I don't talk about my deployments. I don't mention the team I lost or the missions that didn't make it into official reports. I don't explain why a lieutenant colonel with a combat record is sitting in an office that smells like old carpet, managing a program most people think is administrative. When people ask, I smile and say something vague about transition assignments and timing. They nod and move on. It's easier that way. But Beckett doesn't move on. I see it building: the comments, the questions, the way he looks at me like I'm a puzzle he can't solve. One afternoon, he stops by my office unannounced. Got a minute? Of course. He sits without being invited, crosses one leg over the other. I've been meaning to ask, how long were you deployed? A few years on and off. And before this? What were you doing? Transitional assignments. Debriefs, evaluations. Standard rotation. For special operations? Something like that. He leans forward. You know, I tried to pull your full service record last week. System kicked me back. Said I didn't have clearance. I meet his eyes. That happens sometimes. Not to me, it doesn't. Then maybe it's a system error. You could file a request. He studies me for a long moment, then laughs. It's forced. Maybe I will. He doesn't, though. Instead, he starts making comments in front of others. During a budget review meeting with senior staff, he mentions my classified background with air quotes. At a training seminar, he introduces me as the colonel with the mystery file. People laugh uncomfortably. I stay quiet. General Marcus Hale, my former commanding officer, sends me a brief email after one of these incidents. Hang tight. Let him dig. So I do. I let Beckett wonder. I let him ask his questions and get non-answers. I let him feel like he's being shut out, because he is. And I wait, because I know how this ends. Curiosity in a place like this isn't neutral. It's a liability. And Beckett is about to learn that some files don't open for a reason. The building hums around us, indifferent and eternal, and I go back to my work. The real work. The kind that doesn't need explaining. The staff briefing happens on a Thursday mid-morning in a windowless conference room that seats 30 but only holds 12 of us. It's a routine operational review, budget allocations, program updates, upcoming audits. I'm presenting the quarterly report for the Veteran Rehabilitation Program, which in public terms means statistical outcomes, cost efficiency, and partnership coordination. The slides are bland by design. Nothing classified. Nothing that would raise eyebrows. Beckett sits at the far end of the table, flanked by 2 civilian analysts and a deputy undersecretary who looks half asleep. I'm 10 minutes into my presentation when he interrupts. Colonel Rains, quick question. His tone is casual, almost friendly. How many of these veterans are actually active duty? Define active duty. Currently serving. Not retired, not separated. I glance at my notes. Approximately 40% are still in service, rotating through rehabilitation and reassignment protocols. And the rest? medical retirement, transition programs, or continued reserve status. He nods slowly, then leans back in his chair. So you're managing active duty personnel while working a PTSD desk job. That's interesting. A few people shift in their seats. I keep my expression neutral. It's a liaison role, Mr. Beckett. Coordination between clinical services and operational command. Right. He waves a hand. I just think it's funny. Not every colonel gets a desk job at the PTSD office. Guess it's charity season. The room goes still. The deputy undersecretary looks up. One of the analysts stares at her laptop. Dr. Vaughn, sitting near the door, meets my eyes briefly. I don't react. I've been here before, different room, different insult, same game. Is there a question, Mr. Beckett? He smiles. No, Colonel. Just an observation. I finish the presentation without incident. The meeting disperses quickly, people filing out with murmured thanks and avoiding eye contact. Vaughn lingers by the door, but I shake my head slightly. Not now. Beckett stays behind, gathering his notes slowly, deliberately. When the room empties, he looks up. No hard feelings, right? Just keeping things light. Of course. He leaves. I pack my materials and walk back to my office, the marble corridor stretching long and bright under the overhead lights. My hands are steady. My breathing is controlled. I've learned how to compartmentalize anger, how to file it away in a place where it can't touch my face or my voice. But it's there, waiting. 3 hours later, Beckett accesses my personnel file. I'm not in my office when it happens. I'm 2 floors down, meeting with Major Theo Kessler about an interagency briefing scheduled for next month. My phone buzzes, a text from a number I don't recognize. It's a system alert, the kind that doesn't go through official channels. Someone with the right access has opened my file. The timestamp is current. The user ID belongs to Beckett. Kessler notices my expression. Everything okay? Fine. I need to make a call. I step into the hallway and dial a number I'm not supposed to have memorized. General Hale picks up on the second ring. Rains. Sir. Beckett just accessed my file. There's a pause. I hear papers rustling, the faint click of a keyboard. I see it. He got past the first gate. How far? Far enough. I close my eyes. What do I do? Nothing. Let it play out. Sir, that's an order, Colonel. Let it play out. He hangs up. I stand in the hallway for a moment, phone still in my hand, feeling the weight of what's about to happen. Then I go back to Kessler's office and finish the meeting. Beckett is still at his desk when I return to my floor. I can see him through the open door, sitting very still, staring at his computer screen. His face is pale. His hands rest flat on the desk, fingers splayed like he's trying to steady himself. I walk past slowly, deliberately. He doesn't look up. The file he's looking at, my file, has a header that reads, Classified, Operation Phoenix/Active. Below that, a memorandum with a red border and a series of code words that require higher clearance than he has. He shouldn't be seeing this. The system should have locked him out. But someone, somewhere, decided to let him in. Just far enough to understand. I don't know what the memorandum says. I've never read it myself. But I know what it represents. I know the names it contains, the missions it references, the bodies it accounts for. I know that Operation Phoenix isn't a desk job or a rehabilitation program. It's a task force, still active, still classified, still operating in places most Pentagon staff will never hear about. And I know that my assignment here, this office, this cover, is part of the machinery that keeps it running. Beckett is reading that now. Or trying to. The details are redacted, the language is bureaucratic, but the truth is there in the margins. The colonel he mocked this morning isn't managing PTSD cases. She's managing operators. People who do things that don't get medals or press coverage. People who come back broken and still have to stay silent. I stop at his door. He still hasn't moved. Sir, is there a problem? His head snaps up. His eyes are wide, unfocused. He opens his mouth, closes it, tries again. I was just reviewing personnel files? I didn't. He stops. His hands are shaking. I didn't know. Know what? He gestures helplessly at the screen. This. Any of this. I step into his office and close the door behind me. My voice is calm, even. Mr. Beckett, you accessed a classified file without proper authorization. That's a security violation. I had clearance. You had mid-level clearance. That file requires SCI access with additional compartmented briefings. You shouldn't have been able to open it at all. He stares at me. Then why did it let me in? I don't answer. The truth is, I don't know. Maybe it was a system glitch. Maybe someone wanted him to see it. Maybe this is how they handle people who ask too many questions. They show them just enough to make them stop. Either way, the damage is done. What do I do? His voice is small now, stripped of its earlier confidence. You close the file. You log out. And you don't mention this to anyone. But, Mr. Beckett. I keep my tone professional, but there's steel underneath. Some files explain themselves. This is one of them. He nods slowly, mechanically, and closes the window. The screen goes dark. He sits there for a moment, staring at nothing, then looks up at me. I'm sorry. For what I said. In the meeting. You didn't know. That's not an excuse. No, I say quietly. It's not. I leave him there and walk back to my office. My hands are still steady, but something inside me has shifted. The mask I wear, the calm, the professionalism, the quiet competence, feels heavier now. Because Beckett's apology doesn't change anything. It doesn't undo the comment. It doesn't erase the laughter. And it doesn't bring back the people I lost. I sit at my desk and stare at the stack of case files waiting for review. Sergeant Mason Alvarez, recovering from a training accident that wasn't an accident. Captain Yates, dealing with memory gaps from an operation that officially never happened. Lieutenant Din, whose nightmares are classified. These are the people Beckett called charity cases. These are the people I'm here to protect. Not from the enemy. From the system. From people like him. I open the first file and get back to work. I wasn't always good at keeping secrets. When I was 24, fresh out of training, I believed in transparency. I thought the truth was a weapon you could use to cut through bureaucracy and politics. I was wrong. The truth, I learned, is a liability. It gets people killed. Operation Phoenix started in the spring of 2019, though the planning went back further. I was a captain then, assigned to a joint task force under Air Force Special Operations Command. The mission brief was vague: hostage recovery and psychological operations in conflict zones. The reality was more complicated. We weren't just recovering hostages. We were managing intelligence networks, running covert insertions, and conducting operations that didn't exist on any official record. The kind of work that requires you to be invisible. Our team was small. 8 officers, rotating depending on the mission. Major Kessler was our liaison to JSOC. Captain Yates handled intelligence. Lieutenant Din ran communications. And then there was Lieutenant Rossi, our medic, who could stitch a wound in the dark and still crack jokes. We trusted each other completely. We had to. When you're operating in denied territory with no backup and no official support, trust isn't optional. The mission that changed everything happened in November 2020. We were tasked with extracting a high-value target from a compound in northern Syria, an intelligence officer who'd been captured during a reconnaissance operation. The briefing said it was clean. In and out, minimal contact, local assets secured. We should have known better. Clean missions don't exist. We inserted at 0200, 2 helicopters dropping us 3 clicks from the target site. The compound was quiet, exactly as intelligence predicted. Too quiet. Yates flagged it immediately. Thermal scans showed half the expected signatures. Either the intel was wrong or someone had moved the target. We proceeded anyway. Orders were orders. We reached the compound at 0245. Rossi and I took the east entrance, while the others circled to secure the perimeter. The building was a concrete shell, 2 stories, narrow hallways that smelled like diesel and rot. We found the target in a basement room, blindfolded and restrained. He was alive, barely. Rossi started in 4 while I called for extraction. That's when the shooting started. They came from everywhere: rooftops, alleyways, hidden positions we'd never identified. Our local assets weren't secured. They were compromised. Someone had sold us out. The extraction turned into a firefight, and we were pinned down with a wounded HVT and no clear exit. Kessler called for air support. It didn't come. The operation was too sensitive, too classified. If we got out, it was on us. Rossi died covering our retreat. Took 3 rounds to the chest while pulling the HVT through a breach in the outer wall. He was gone before we could get him to the rally point. We lost Lieutenant Din 20 minutes later. Sniper fire, clean shot, nothing we could do. By the time the helicopters finally arrived, we'd lost 2 and the HVT was critical. The mission was technically a success. We got him out. But it didn't feel like success. The debrief happened in a windowless room at Ramstein Air Base. General Hale ran it personally. He didn't ask what went wrong. He already knew. The intelligence leak came from inside our own network, a contractor with access to operational details who'd been selling information for 6 months. By the time we figured it out, he was gone. Disappeared into a system that protects its own. Hale gave us 2 options. We could file a formal complaint, trigger an investigation, demand accountability. Or we could accept reassignment, take the medals we'd earned, and move on. He didn't say it explicitly, but the message was clear. The investigation wouldn't go anywhere. The contractor had connections, layers of protection. Pursuing it would only hurt us. Most of the team took the reassignment. Kessler stayed in operations, rotating through different task forces. Yates went to intelligence analysis, working from a desk. I was offered a position at the Pentagon, a liaison role that sounded administrative but wasn't. My real job was to manage officers rotating out of black operations, people who'd done things they couldn't talk about and needed someone who understood. People like me. I said yes. Not because I forgave the system. Not because I trusted the chain of command. But because the work still mattered. The operators I'd lost, Rossi, Din, others whose names I can't say, they deserve someone to keep fighting for them. Even if it meant staying quiet. Operation Phoenix didn't end when I left. It's still active, still running missions in places the public doesn't know about. I'm still attached to it, technically. My clearance, my access, my knowledge, all of it ties me to something ongoing. That's why my file is flagged. That's why Beckett's mid-level clearance couldn't handle what he saw. Because I'm not retired. I'm reintegrated. And there's a difference. The transition to the Pentagon was harder than I expected. I went from operating in the field, making split-second decisions with life-or-death consequences, to sitting in meetings about budget allocations and program efficiency. The pace was slower. The stakes felt smaller. But the isolation was the same. Maybe worse. In the field, I had my team. Here, I have a title and a desk and people who think I'm managing PTSD cases. Dr. Vaughn was the first person who saw through it. We met during my initial psych evaluation, a standard requirement for anyone transitioning from high-intensity operations. She asked the usual questions: sleep patterns, stress management, emotional regulation. I gave the usual answers. Then she asked about trust. Do you trust your chain of command? I hesitated. I follow orders. That's not what I asked. I looked at her. No, not completely. She didn't write that down. Instead, she leaned back and said, "That's probably smart. We've had coffee twice a month since then." She doesn't ask about classified operations or push for details I can't share. She just listens. It's more than most people do. The Pentagon has its own rhythm, its own rules. You learn to navigate by what people don't say. When someone's file is flagged, you don't ask why. When a meeting gets moved to a SCIF, you don't question the timing. And when a colonel with a combat record shows up in a job that seems too small, you assume there's more to the story. Most people do assume. They just don't dig. Beckett dug. Now he knows what I've spent 2 years trying to bury, that the uniform I wear is still attached to something active, something ongoing, something that doesn't have room for charity or pity. Just survival. I think about Rossi sometimes. The way he joked even when things were bad. The way he trusted me to make the call when the shooting started. I think about Din, who never complained, who kept the comms running even when the system failed us. I think about the families who got folded flags and vague explanations. And I think about the fact that I'm still here, still doing the work, still part of a system that couldn't protect them. That's the real burden. Not the missions. Not the secrets. The knowledge that the people I lost deserved better, and I'm the one who stayed. Beckett doesn't come to work the next day. His assistant says he's sick, but I know better. I've seen that look before, the one he had when he closed my file. It's the look people get when they realize the world is bigger and darker than they thought, and there's no going back to not knowing. The rumors start by midday. Quiet whispers in the hallways, coded language in emails. Someone accessed a file they shouldn't have. Someone triggered a security audit. People don't say Beckett's name outright, but they don't have to. Everyone knows. Dr. Vaughn stops by my office late in the afternoon. She doesn't sit, just leans against the doorframe with her arms crossed. You okay? Why wouldn't I be? Because Beckett just learned something he wasn't ready for, and you're the one who had to watch it happen. I set down the file I've been pretending to read. He made his choice. Did he? He accessed classified material without authorization. That's on him. She studies me for a moment. You're not wrong. But you're also not as detached as you're pretending to be. I don't respond. She's right, but I'm not about to admit it. Instead, I change the subject. How long until the audit? 24 hours, maybe less. They're moving fast. Good. She pushes off the doorframe. For what it's worth, I don't think he meant to hurt you. He just didn't understand. Understanding isn't the same as respect. No, she says quietly. It's not. She leaves, and I'm alone again. The office feels smaller than it did this morning, the walls closer. I pull up my schedule for the week, briefings, case reviews, a coordination call with Fort Bragg. It's all routine. All normal. But nothing feels normal anymore. Beckett returns on Monday. He looks thinner, older. His tie is loose, his collar unbuttoned. He avoids eye contact with everyone, moves through the hallways like he's trying not to be seen. When he passes my office, he slows, almost stops, then keeps walking. I let him. The security audit happens 2 days later. I'm not involved directly, but I hear about it through Kessler. Beckett is called into a closed-door meeting with a team from Defense Security Service. They review his access logs, his clearance level, his justification for opening my file. He doesn't have a good answer. By the end of the week, his clearance is suspended pending review. The word spreads fast. Beckett's influence, which was always more about volume than substance, evaporates. Meetings happen without him. Decisions get made over his head. People who used to defer to him now route requests around him. It's not vindictive. It's just practical. In a place like this, losing your clearance is like losing your voice. You're still there, but nobody hears you. I'm in a briefing when I get the message. General Hale wants to see me. No explanation, just a time and a room number. I recognize it, a SCF on the 4th floor, used for classified operational planning. I arrive early, badge in, and wait in the silent anteroom. Hale shows up exactly on time, as always. Colonel. Sir. He gestures me inside. The room is small, sterile, with a conference table and no windows. He sits, and I sit across from him. For a moment, neither of us speaks. You handled it well, he says finally. I didn't do anything, sir. Exactly. You let it play out. I nod. What happens to Beckett? He'll keep his job, probably. But his clearance is flagged. He won't get it back anytime soon. And his reputation here is done. That was the goal? Hale leans back. The goal was to remind people that some lines don't get crossed. Beckett crossed one. Now everyone knows. I want to ask if it was worth it, the humiliation, the audit, the message it sends. But I know the answer. In a system built on hierarchy and control, examples matter. Beckett became one. There's something else, Hale says. You're being reassigned. My stomach tightens. Where? Not far. Joint Interagency Briefing Team. You'll be coordinating between DoD, state, and CIA on transition operations. It's a promotion, effectively. More visibility, more responsibility. More scrutiny. Yes. I take a breath. What about my current work? The rehab program. Someone else will take it over. Your focus needs to be broader now. I should feel relieved. This is what career progression looks like, bigger roles, higher stakes. But all I feel is tired. Tired of moving. Tired of covering. Tired of being part of a system that chews people up and spits them out, even when they're on the right side. When do I start? 2 weeks. He stands, and I follow. At the door, he pauses. For what it's worth, Rains, you're good at this. Better than most. At what, sir? Surviving. He leaves. I stay in the room for a moment, staring at the blank walls. Surviving. That's what I've been doing, isn't it? Not thriving, not healing. Just surviving. One mission at a time, one day at a time, one compromise at a time. It's not the career I imagined when I was 24 and believed in transparency. But it's the one I have. I leave the SCF and head back to my office. On the way, I pass Beckett in the hallway. He's carrying a box, files, personal items, the accumulated debris of a career in freefall. He sees me and stops. Colonel. Mr. Beckett. He shifts the box in his arms. I wanted to say, I'm sorry. For what I said. For what I did. I meet his eyes. They're red, tired. He looks like someone who's been awake for days. You already apologized. I know. But I don't think I understood what I was apologizing for. And now you do? He nods slowly. Now I do. There's nothing else to say. We stand there for a moment, two people on opposite sides of a line neither of us chose. Then he shifts the box again and walks away. I watch him go, and I feel something I haven't felt in a long time. Not satisfaction. Not vindication. Just a quiet, heavy sadness for all the things we don't say and all the ways we fail each other. I go back to my office and close the door. On my desk, there's a memo about the interagency briefing team, logistics, personnel, timelines. I read it twice, then file it away. 2 more weeks. 2 more weeks of this office, this cover, this version of myself. Then something new. Something bigger. Something that will require me to keep surviving, keep hiding, keep carrying the weight of things I can't explain. I sit down and get back to work. It's all I know how to do. The transfer takes longer than expected. Bureaucracy moves slowly, even in the Pentagon. Clearances have to be updated, briefings scheduled, personnel files reviewed. I spend the time wrapping up cases, transitioning my current load to Major Kessler, who's taking over the liaison role temporarily. He doesn't ask questions. He just nods and makes notes, the way good officers do. Sergeant Mason Alvarez comes by my office on a Wednesday. He's early 30s, wiry, with the kind of intensity that never quite fades even after you've left the field. He was part of a team that operated in East Africa, details classified, outcomes redacted. Now he's in rehabilitation, learning to function in a world where the rules are written down and nobody's shooting at you. Heard you're leaving, ma'am. Not leaving. Reassigning. He sits in the chair across from my desk uninvited. It's a boundary violation, technically, but I let it slide. Alvarez doesn't do well with formality. Kessler's good, but he's not you. He'll do fine. Yeah, maybe. He picks at a loose thread on his sleeve. It's just, you get it. Most people don't. I know what he means. There's a difference between managing someone's transition and understanding why they need it. Kessler understands the process. I understand the cost. It's why Alvarez and the others trust me. Not because I have answers, but because I don't pretend it's simple. You're doing good work, Rook. Better than you think. He looks up. You ever miss it? The field? Every day. Then why stay here? I consider the question. The real answer is complicated: loyalty, duty, guilt, survival. But what I say is simpler. Because someone has to. He nods, satisfied. Yeah, okay. He leaves, and I sit alone again. The office feels emptier now, like I'm already gone. The work itself doesn't stop. Even as I'm transitioning out, new cases come in. A captain dealing with memory gaps from an operation in Yemen. A lieutenant struggling with reintegration after 3 years of deep cover work. A sergeant who can't sleep without checking the exits. I review their files, make recommendations, coordinate with Vaughn and the clinical team. It's methodical, almost mechanical. But it matters. One afternoon, Vaughn brings coffee and sits across from me without asking. You're thinking too much. I'm working. You're spiraling. I set down my pen. I'm fine. You're leaving a job you care about to take a promotion you don't want. That's not fine. I don't argue. She's right. The new role, Joint Interagency Coordination, is prestigious on paper. It's also a cage. More visibility means more scrutiny. More responsibility means less autonomy. And more meetings means less time doing the work that actually matters. It's career progression, I say finally. So is retirement. I'm not retiring. I know. But you could. You've done enough. I look at her. Have I? She doesn't answer. We both know the truth. Enough is a concept that doesn't apply to people like me. There's always another mission, another case, another reason to stay. Walking away feels like abandoning the people who can't. The days blur together. Paperwork, briefings, handoffs. Beckett's suspension becomes official 6 months, pending additional review. He stops coming to the building entirely, working remotely, out of sight. People stop talking about him. In the Pentagon, relevance is currency, and his account is empty. I run into General Hale in the parking lot one evening. He's walking to his car, jacket slung over one shoulder, looking tired. When he sees me, he stops. How's the transition? Slow. That's normal. He shifts his jacket. You'll do well in the new role. Will I? He studies me. You sound uncertain. I am uncertain. About the job or about staying? I don't answer. He waits, patient. Finally, I say, I keep thinking about Rossi. About Din. About the fact that I'm still here and they're not. Survivor's guilt. Is that what this is? Partially. He sets his jacket down on the hood of his car. But it's also responsibility. You survived because you made the right calls. Now you're using that experience to help others. That's not guilt, Rains. That's purpose. I want to believe him. But purpose feels like a word people use to make hard things bearable. It doesn't change the weight. It just reframes it. Did you ever regret staying in? I ask. He considers the question. Every day. And never. That doesn't make sense. No, he says quietly. It doesn't. He picks up his jacket and leaves. I stand in the parking lot for a moment, watching his taillights disappear into the evening traffic. The air is cooler now, autumn settling in with the kind of clarity that makes everything feel sharper. I think about his answer every day and never. It's the most honest thing anyone's said to me in months. I drive home in silence. My apartment is in Arlington, a small one-bedroom with furniture I barely use and walls I've never decorated. It's temporary, like everything else. I eat dinner standing at the counter, reheated pasta, a glass of water. Then I sit on the couch and stare at the wall until it's late enough to justify going to bed. Sleep doesn't come easily. It never does. I lie in the dark and think about Alvarez's question. Do I miss the field? Yes, but not the way he thinks. I don't miss the adrenaline or the danger. I miss the clarity. In the field, the mission was always clear. Extract the target. Secure the site. Get everyone home. Here, the mission is murky. Help people transition. Manage their trauma. Keep them functional. It's important work, but the outcomes are measured in years, not hours. And sometimes you never know if you succeeded at all. I think about Beckett too. The way he looked when he closed my file. The apology he gave me in the hallway. Part of me wants to feel vindicated. He underestimated me, and the system corrected him. But vindication feels hollow when you know the system that corrected him is the same one that failed Rossi and Din. There's no winning here. Just survival. By the time I fall asleep, it's past midnight. I dream about Syria again. The compound, the gunfire, Rossi's voice on the radio calling for extraction that never came. I wake up at 0400, sweating, and don't go back to bed. The promotion becomes official 2 weeks later. There's no ceremony, no formal announcement. Just an email with updated orders and a new office assignment. 4th floor, different wing, bigger desk. I pack my current office in an afternoon, files transferred, personal items minimal. Kessler helps me carry the boxes. You're going to do great, he says. You sound like you're trying to convince yourself. He laughs. Maybe I am. The new office has a window. It overlooks the inner courtyard, where people walk during lunch, talking on phones or eating alone on benches. It's quieter than my last space, more isolated. I unpack slowly, methodically. Laptop files, a photo I've kept in a drawer for 2 years, my team in Syria, before everything went wrong. Rossi is on the left, grinning. Din is next to him, arms crossed, looking serious. I'm in the back, younger, less guarded. I set it on the desk where I can see it, then change my mind and put it back in the drawer. The first briefing in my new role happens the next morning. It's in a SCF, attended by representatives from DoD, State Department, and CIA. The topic is transition operations, how to manage personnel rotating out of high-risk assignments, maintain operational security, and prevent intelligence leaks. I've been on the operational side of this process. Now I'm on the policy side. The meeting is sterile, technical. People speak in acronyms and reference memos I haven't read yet. I take notes, ask clarifying questions, and watch the dynamics. Who defers to whom? Who speaks and who listens? It's a different kind of combat, but it's still combat. After the meeting, a woman from CIA approaches me. She's late 40s, sharp suit, calm demeanor. Colonel Rains. I'm Deputy Director Carver. I worked with General Hale on Phoenix. I shake her hand. Ma'am. He speaks highly of you. I appreciate that. She lowers her voice. This role is going to test you. More politics, less action. You'll need patience. I'm working on it. She smiles, but it doesn't reach her eyes. We all are. She walks away, and I'm left standing in the hallway, wondering what I've just signed up for. The corridors here are different, more secure, more restricted. Fewer people, more badges. It's the inner ring, where decisions get made and operations get approved. I'm part of it now, whether I want to be or not. The weeks pass. Briefings, memos, coordination calls. I learn the rhythm of the new job, slower, more deliberate. Decisions take days instead of minutes. Nothing happens without multiple approvals, multiple reviews. It's frustrating, but I adapt. That's what I do. I adapt. Vaughn and I still meet for coffee, though less frequently now. Our schedules don't align the way they used to. When we do meet, she asks how I'm adjusting. It's different. Good different or bad different? Just different. She stirs her coffee. You know, you're allowed to admit you don't like it. I didn't say I don't like it. You didn't have to. I look at her. It's important work. So was your last job. This has more impact. Does it? She sets down her spoon. Or does it just feel safer? I don't answer. Because she's right. This job is safer. No operators depending on me. No cases that keep me up at night. Just policy and process and layers of bureaucracy that insulate me from the consequences of my decisions. It's what career progression looks like. It's also, in a way, a retreat. Beckett sends an email 3 months into my new role. It's short, formal. Colonel Rains, I wanted to inform you that I've accepted a position with a private defense contractor. My last day at the Pentagon will be December 15th. I wish you the best in your continued service. There's no apology this time. No acknowledgement of what happened. Just a professional goodbye from someone who's moving on. I delete the email and don't reply. I see him once more before he leaves. It's in the parking lot, late afternoon, both of us heading to our cars. He's carrying a box again, smaller this time, just a few personal items. When he sees me, he stops. Colonel. Mr. Beckett. He sets the box on the hood of his car. I meant what I said. About being sorry. I know. But sorry doesn't fix it. No, I say quietly. It doesn't. He nods, picks up the box, and gets in his car. I watch him drive away, and I feel nothing. Not anger, not satisfaction. Just a vague sense of closure that doesn't quite close anything. That night, I sit in my apartment and think about the past 6 months. Beckett's comment. The file he opened. The reassignment I didn't ask for. The promotion I'm not sure I wanted. It all feels connected, like pieces of a puzzle I'm too close to see clearly. But the shape that's emerging isn't triumph or justice. It's just the slow, grinding machinery of a system that protects itself above all else. I pull out the photo from my desk drawer, the one with Rossi and Din. I stare at it for a long time, trying to remember what it felt like to be that version of myself. Younger, more certain, still believing that the mission mattered more than the politics. That person is gone. What's left is someone who knows how to survive, but isn't sure what she's surviving for. I put the photo back and close the drawer. Tomorrow there's another briefing, another memo, another decision to be made. The work continues. It always does. And I continue with it because that's what I know how to do. Not because it's easy. Not because it's fulfilling. But because walking away would mean admitting that everything I've lost, everyone I've lost, was for something I no longer believe in. And I'm not ready to admit that yet. Maybe I never will be. So I keep going. One day at a time. One meeting at a time. One compromise at a time. Surviving. The awards ceremony happens in April, 6 months after my reassignment. It's held in the Pentagon's Hall of Heroes, a space I've walked past dozens of times but never entered. The room is smaller than I expected, more intimate. Rows of chairs face a raised platform where senior officers sit in dress uniforms, ribbons gleaming under controlled lighting. There are maybe 70 people in attendance, colleagues, subordinates, a few civilians whose clearances allow them to be here. I'm sitting in the third row, uniform pressed, posture correct. My hands rest in my lap, fingers interlaced. I've been to ceremonies like this before, but never as the recipient. It feels strange, performative. Like I'm watching someone else's life unfold. General Hale is at the podium. He's reading from a citation, his voice measured and formal. For distinguished service under Operation Phoenix and continued exceptional performance in support of joint interagency operations. The words sound important. They're supposed to, but they're also carefully constructed to say nothing specific. No details. No missions. No names. Just vague praise that could mean anything. The citation continues. I stop listening. Instead, I scan the room. Kessler is here, sitting near the back. Vaughn is 2 rows behind me. I don't recognize most of the others, senior staff, Pentagon officials, people whose titles mean more than their names. And then I see him. Beckett. He's standing against the side wall, half hidden behind a column. He's not in uniform, just a dark suit that looks slightly too big. His face is pale, expression unreadable. I don't know why he's here. He doesn't work here anymore. He doesn't have clearance to attend classified ceremonies. But someone let him in, which means someone wanted him here. Maybe Hale. Maybe someone else. Maybe it's part of the lesson. Watch the person you underestimated receive recognition for work you'll never fully understand. Hale finishes reading. There's polite applause. I stand and walk to the platform. He shakes my hand, then pins a commendation medal to my uniform. The medal is heavier than I expected. He leans in slightly as he steps back. You earned this. I nod. Thank you, sir. He returns to his seat. I'm supposed to say something now, a few words of gratitude, acknowledgement of the team, standard ceremony protocol. I step to the podium and look out at the room. All those faces, watching, waiting. Thank you, General Hale, and thank you to everyone here. My voice is steady, practiced. This recognition belongs to more than just me. It belongs to the teams I've served with, the people who didn't come home, and the ones still carrying the weight of missions that will never be public. I'm honored to continue serving alongside professionals who understand that some work doesn't get headlines. It just gets done. I step back. More applause. The ceremony continues. Another officer receives a citation for logistics support. A civilian gets recognized for administrative excellence. I sit through it all, feeling the weight of the medal on my chest, wondering if Rossi or Din would have wanted this. Probably not. They weren't the type to care about ceremonies. Afterward, there's a small reception in an adjacent room. Coffee, light refreshments, awkward small talk. People congratulate me with the kind of sincerity that's hard to gauge. I thank them, shake hands, keep moving. Vaughn catches me by the door. That was a good speech. It was short. That's what made it good. She glances toward the hallway. Beckett's here. I saw. You going to talk to him? Why would I? She shrugs. Closure, maybe. I don't need closure. She looks at me like she doesn't believe me, but she doesn't push. Instead, she squeezes my arm and walks away. I'm alone for a moment, standing in the doorway between the reception and the hallway. Then I see him. Beckett, waiting near the elevators, hands in his pockets. I could avoid him. Turn around, rejoin the reception, let him leave without acknowledgement. But something makes me walk over. Maybe curiosity. Maybe the need to finish something that never really ended. Mr. Beckett. He turns. Up close, he looks older. There are lines around his eyes that weren't there before, a weariness in his posture. Colonel Rains. Congratulations. Thank you. I wasn't sure if I should come, but I wanted to see it. What I missed. I don't respond. He shifts his weight, uncomfortable. I took the contractor job because I couldn't stay here. Not after what happened. Every time I walked these halls, I felt like I was wearing a scarlet letter. That's not my problem. I know. He looks down. But I wanted you to know I get it now. Why you're here. What you're doing. It's not charity. It never was. No, I say quietly. It wasn't. He meets my eyes. For what it's worth, I think you're extraordinary. And I'm sorry it took me so long to see it. There's nothing performative about the apology this time. It's genuine, stripped of ego. But it doesn't change anything. It doesn't undo the comment in the briefing room or the laughter that followed. It doesn't bring back Rossi or Din. It just is. I appreciate that, Mr. Beckett. He nods, then extends his hand. I shake it. His grip is firm but brief. Then he turns and walks to the elevator. I watch him go, and I feel something loosen in my chest. Not forgiveness, exactly. Just release. The weight I've been carrying since that briefing, the anger, the hurt, the need to prove something, it eases. Not entirely, but enough. I go back to the reception. Kessler is talking to a group of junior officers, gesturing animatedly. When he sees me, he excuses himself and walks over. Hell of a ceremony. It was fine. You okay? Why does everyone keep asking me that? He grins. Because you look like you're at a funeral, not an award ceremony. I almost smile. I'm fine, Theo. Good. Because we're going to dinner. You, me, Vaughn. Celebrate properly. I don't need to celebrate. I know. But I do. Humor me. I agree because it's easier than arguing. We go to a restaurant near Crystal City, a quiet place with low lighting and good food. Vaughn joins us and we sit in a booth near the back. For an hour, we don't talk about work. We talk about normal things, movies, books, places we want to visit. It feels strange, almost foreign. But also good. At one point, Kessler raises his glass. To Amanda. For surviving us. Vaughn raises hers. And for making it look easy. I raise mine too. It's not easy. We know, Vaughn says. That's why it's impressive. We drink. The wine is dry, the conversation light. For a moment, I let myself relax. Not completely. I'm not built for that anymore. But enough to remember what it feels like to be part of something that isn't defined by loss or duty or secrets. Later, driving home, I think about the ceremony. The medal on my uniform. Beckett in the hallway. Hale's words, "You earned this." Did I? Or did I just survive long enough to receive recognition for work that shouldn't need recognition? I don't have an answer. Maybe there isn't one. I park in my apartment complex and sit in the car for a moment, engine off, hands on the wheel. The night is quiet, the kind of stillness that makes you aware of your own breathing. I think about Rossi's last words on the radio. I got him. Just go, and the way Din never complained, even when things were bad. I think about the operators I manage now, the ones still carrying missions they can't talk about. And I think about Beckett's apology, genuine and too late. The truth is, none of this is about revenge. It never was. Revenge implies wanting to hurt someone for what they did. But I didn't want to hurt Beckett. I wanted him to understand. To see past the surface titles and recognize that the work I do, that we all do, isn't charity. It's necessity. It's survival. And sometimes, survival is the hardest mission of all. I get out of the car and head inside. Tomorrow there's another briefing, another memo, another decision to be made. The work continues. It always does. But tonight, for the first time in months, I feel something other than exhaustion. Not happiness. Not pride. Just a quiet acceptance that this is my life now. This uniform. This rank. These responsibilities. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. I set the medal on my dresser and change into civilian clothes. Before I go to bed, I pull out the photo from my desk drawer, the one with Rossi and Din. I look at it for a long time, then set it on the nightstand where I can see it. A reminder. Not of what I lost, but of why I stay. For them. For the ones still fighting. For the ones who need someone who understands. I turn off the light and lie in the dark, and for the first time in a long time, I sleep without dreaming. Summer comes to Washington with the kind of heat that makes the marble corridors of the Pentagon feel like a cathedral, cool and vast and somehow sacred. I've been in the interagency coordination role for 8 months now. The rhythm is familiar. The work is steady. I've learned to navigate the politics, to read the silences, to understand when a memo means what it says and when it means something else entirely. The veteran rehabilitation program I used to run has expanded. Kessler brought in 2 additional staff members and secured funding for a pilot program that pairs transitioning operators with civilian mentors. It's working. The success rates are up. Fewer veterans falling through the cracks. I watch from a distance, proud but also slightly removed. It's not my program anymore. That's how it should be. Sergeant Alvarez completed his transition in June. He took a job with a private security firm, something low-key, nothing that requires him to deploy. He sent me a brief email. Thanks for not giving up on me. I replied, I never thought about giving up. It was true. Giving up isn't something I know how to do. My new work is different. Less direct, more systemic. I review policies, coordinate between agencies, ensure that the lessons we've learned from operations like Phoenix get incorporated into training and doctrine. It's important. But it's also bloodless. I don't see the operators anymore. I don't hear their stories. I just read reports and make recommendations that someone else implements. Vaughn notices the shift during one of our coffee meetings. We're in the courtyard, sitting on a bench under a tree that somehow survived decades of Pentagon foot traffic. You're more detached now. I'm focused. That's not what I said. I watch a group of junior officers walk past, laughing about something I can't hear. The new role requires distance. I can't get emotionally involved in every case. You're not in cases anymore. You're in policy. Exactly. She's quiet for a moment. Do you miss it? The direct work. I consider lying, but Vaughn would see through it. Every day. Then why not go back? Because this is where I'm needed. Or where you're safe. I look at her. They're not mutually exclusive. She doesn't argue. We finish our coffee in silence, and when we part, she hugs me brief, professional, but genuine. Don't lose yourself in the system, Amanda. I'll try. But I'm not sure I know how. The system is all I have left. The uniforms, the protocols, the structure. Without it, I'm just a person with trauma and medals and memories that don't fit anywhere else. In July, I brief a congressional subcommittee on veteran transition programs. It's a closed session, classified, only members with appropriate clearances. I present data, answer questions, deflect the ones that get too close to operational details. Afterward, a senator approaches me, older, decorated combat veteran from the Vietnam era. Colonel, that was impressive. You have a real command of the subject. Thank you, Senator. Can I ask you something off the record? I nod. How do you do it? Manage all this without letting it consume you. I think about the question. The honest answer is, I don't. It has consumed me. But what I say is, I focus on the mission, Senator. Everything else is noise. He studies me. You remind me of someone I served with. Brilliant officer. Tough as hell. Died of a heart attack at 52 because he never learned to let go. I'll keep that in mind. I hope you do. He walks away, and I'm left standing in the hallway, wondering if he's right. If I'm heading toward the same fate, working myself into an early grave, because I don't know how to do anything else. That night, I sit in my apartment and open a bottle of wine. I don't usually drink alone, but tonight feels different. The weight of the senator's words. The distance I've created from the work I used to love. The sense that I'm moving further from something I can't name but desperately need. I pour a glass and walk to the window. My apartment overlooks a parking lot and a stretch of highway that never stops humming with traffic. It's not beautiful, but it's honest. Just concrete and motion and the relentless forward push of a city that never pauses. I think about the past year. Beckett's comment. The file he opened. The reassignment. The ceremony. All of it leading to this moment, me, alone in an apartment, holding a glass of wine, wondering if I've won or lost. The truth is, I don't know. Maybe there's no winning in a system like this. Maybe survival is the only metric that matters. And if that's the case, then I'm doing fine. I'm still here. Still working. Still carrying the weight. But fine isn't the same as good. And survival isn't the same as living. I finish the wine and go to bed. Tomorrow there's another briefing, another set of decisions, another day of moving forward, because that's what I do. But as I lie in the dark, I think about Rossi's laugh and Din's quiet competence and the version of myself that believed the mission was enough. That person is gone. What's left is someone who knows too much and feels too little. Someone who's traded passion for process and conviction for control. I don't know if that's progress or loss. Maybe it's both. Maybe that's what growing up in this world looks like, learning to survive at the cost of everything that made survival worthwhile. I close my eyes and try to sleep, but the thoughts keep circling. And in the silence of my apartment, I realize something I've been avoiding for months. I'm tired. Not physically, but existentially. Tired of pretending the work is enough. Tired of maintaining distance. Tired of being the person everyone thinks I am instead of the person I used to be. And I don't know how to fix it. So I do what I always do. I push it down, compartmentalize it, file it away in a place where it can't touch my performance or my reputation. Tomorrow I'll wake up and put on the uniform and go to work. I'll brief senior staff and review memos and make decisions that matter in ways I'll never see. And I'll do it well, because that's what I'm trained for. But somewhere inside, in a place I can't quite reach anymore, I'll know the truth. The uniform fits. The rank is real. The work is important. But none of it feels like mine anymore. It feels like a role I'm playing, a script I'm following, a mission I can't quite remember signing up for. And the scary part isn't that I mind. It's that I don't. I've become so good at surviving that I've forgotten what I'm surviving for. And that realization, more than anything else, is what keeps me awake long into the night. The email arrives on a Monday morning in late August. It's from an address I don't recognize, routed through secure channels. The subject line reads, "Request for consultation, Operation Phoenix follow-up." I open it carefully. Colonel Rains, you are requested to attend a classified briefing regarding operational continuity and lessons learned from Phoenix. Date, August 28th. Time, 1400. Location, SCIF 4A, RSVP required. It's signed by someone I've never heard of, a deputy director from an agency whose name is redacted. I stare at the email for a long moment. Phoenix. I haven't heard that name in official correspondence in over a year. The operation is still active, technically, but my direct involvement ended when I transferred to the Pentagon. This feels different. Like someone is pulling me back in. I RSVP and spend the next 2 days trying not to speculate. It could be routine. A review, an update, a formality. Or it could be something else. A new deployment. A reassignment. An acknowledgement that my current role isn't where I'm needed most. The day of the briefing, I arrive early. SCF 4A is deep in the building, past multiple security checkpoints. I badge in, sign the access log, and wait in the anteroom. At exactly 1400, the door opens. A woman in civilian clothes, late 30s, sharp eyes, no-nonsense demeanor, gestures me inside. Colonel Rains. I'm Sarah Lind, Deputy Director of Operations. Thank you for coming. The room is small. 3 people are already seated, General Hale, a Navy commander I don't recognize, and Deputy Director Carver from CIA. I take the remaining seat. Lind doesn't waste time. We're here to discuss the future of Operation Phoenix and your potential role in it. My stomach tightens. I thought Phoenix was operational. I'm in policy now. You are, Hale says. But Phoenix is evolving. The operational tempo is decreasing. What we need now is someone who can translate field experience into institutional knowledge. Training protocols, psychological resilience programs, interagency coordination. That's you. Carver leans forward. We want you to lead a new initiative, Phoenix Transition Framework. You'd build a comprehensive program for operators rotating out of high-risk assignments. Clinical support, career counseling, security protocols. Everything you've been doing, but scaled up. Multi-agency, multi-service. I look between them. That's a massive undertaking. Yes, Lynn says. Which is why we need someone with operational credibility and policy experience. You're one of the few people who has both. The Navy commander speaks for the first time. We've lost too many good operators to poor transition support. Suicide rates are climbing. Security breaches are increasing. This program could change that. I take a breath. This is exactly the kind of work I wanted when I first came to the Pentagon. Meaningful, systemic, impactful. But it's also terrifying. Building a program from scratch means visibility, scrutiny, and the weight of knowing that failure could cost lives. What's the timeline? 6 months to develop the framework, Lynn says. Then a pilot program with select units. Full implementation within 2 years. And my current role? You'd transition out. This would be your primary focus. I look at Hale. Sir, it's your call, Amanda. But I think this is where you belong. I want to say yes immediately. But something holds me back. Maybe it's caution. Maybe it's fear. Or maybe it's the knowledge that saying yes means committing to something that will consume the next several years of my life. Can I have time to think about it? Lind nods. 48 hours. We need an answer by Wednesday. The meeting ends. I walk out of the SCF and into the bright corridor, blinking against the fluorescent light. My mind is racing. This is what I wanted. Isn't it? To do work that matters. To use my experience to help others. To build something that outlasts me. But there's a cost. There always is. More hours, more stress, more responsibility. Less time for anything resembling a personal life. And the knowledge that if I fail, people will die. Not directly. Not in a firefight. But slowly, quietly, in the months and years after they leave the field, when the system fails to catch them. I call Vaughn that evening. We meet at a bar in Arlington, something quiet and anonymous. I order a beer. She orders wine. We sit in a booth near the back. They offered you Phoenix Transition Framework. She doesn't ask how I know. How did you? Hale told me. He wanted my input. What did you say? I said you're the only person who could do it. She sips her wine. But I also said you're already stretched thin. I'm fine. Amanda. She sets down her glass. You're not fine. You haven't been fine in months. Maybe years. I look at her. This work matters. So does your health. I'm healthy. Physically, maybe. But you're burning out. I see it. Kessler sees it. Anyone who knows you sees it. Then what am I supposed to do? Say no? Walk away? Maybe. I laugh, but it's bitter. I don't know how to walk away. I know. That's the problem. We sit in silence. The bar hums around us, conversations, laughter, the clink of glasses. Normal people doing normal things. I can't remember the last time I felt normal. What do you want? Vaughn asks finally. I want to help people. That's not what I asked. What do you want? I don't have an answer. Or maybe I do, and I'm afraid to say it out loud. Because what I want is to go back. Back to the field, back to my team, back to a time when the mission was clear and the cost was immediate. But I can't. That version of my life is gone. All I have left is this, the system, the protocols, the endless forward march of a career that feels less like progress and more like running in place. I don't know, I say finally. Vaughn reaches across the table and squeezes my hand. Then maybe that's your answer. I go home and sit with the decision. 2 days. 48 hours to choose the next chapter of my life. I think about Rossi and Din. I think about Alvarez and the others I've helped transition. I think about the senator's warning, the officer who worked himself to death because he never learned to let go. And I think about what Vaughn said. What do you want? The truth is, I want to matter. I want my work to mean something. I want to know that the sacrifices I've made, the things I've seen, the people I've lost, weren't for nothing. And this program, Phoenix Transition Framework, could do that. It could save lives. It could change the system. It could be my legacy. But legacy isn't the same as happiness. And meaning isn't the same as peace. Tuesday night, I call Hale. Sir, I've made my decision. Go ahead. I'll do it. Phoenix Transition Framework. I'm in. There's a pause. You're sure? Yes, sir. Good. I'll inform the team. We'll start transitioning you next week. He hangs up. I sit alone in my apartment, phone still in my hand, and wait for the relief to come. But it doesn't. Instead, I just feel tired. Tired and committed and resigned to the fact that this is my life now. This is what I chose. And maybe that's enough. Maybe it has to be. Because walking away isn't an option. It never was. I'm too deep, too invested, too defined by this work to imagine anything else. So I'll build the program. I'll train the next generation. I'll do everything I can to make sure fewer operators end up like Rossi and Din. And if that costs me everything else, peace, happiness, whatever semblance of a normal life I might have had, then so be it. That's the price. And I'll pay it. Because that's what survivors do. They keep going, even when they don't know why. They keep going because stopping would mean admitting that the cost was too high. And I'm not ready to admit that yet. Maybe I never will be. So I'll keep going. One mission at a time. One program at a time. One day at a time. Until there's nothing left to give. Or until the system finally breaks me. Whichever comes first. Here's where I'll leave it. If you've ever been written off because of your title, or had someone discover who you really are the hard way, drop your story below. I read every comment. Questions for you. Have you ever had a boss publicly downplay your work? How did you respond? What boundary would you set if someone mocked your role, then saw the truth? Do late apologies matter to you, or is respect only real up front? When have you chosen silence over proving yourself, and did it pay off? What's one charity job you do that outsiders don't understand? If this hit home, like, subscribe, and share with someone who needs a reminder. Your value isn't up for debate.